By now, we've all heard every kind of version of the story to come out of 2020, good ones, bad ones, and everything in between. Here we are almost to 2022, and still the lasting effects of what was 2020 are still very much in play. In the case of Jeremy Bauer, necessity created a business. You see, like so many others, Jeremy lost his job last year. Faced with all kinds of uncertainty, he decided to turn a hobby into a business. Of course, there was a little motivation.
Every year for my birthday and Christmas, peppers, you know.
You knew they were coming? Did you ask for them?
The first ones I did not ask for. And the first ones that came, he put them in the little plastic tubs. And this box shows up on my doorstep, and it is just like the whole corner of it is just soaking. And I opened this thing up, and it had lots of bags of peppers, but he had these in these plastic containers, and one of them broke open, and there was some habaneros. So like absolutely everything in this box, but you could see like the drips coming up, and like as soon as I opened that box, like my eyes started watering, like my mouth started watering. I was like, okay, Dad started growing some really hot peppers now.
His family was back in South Dakota. The abundance of peppers showing up at his door became somewhat comical. Actually, he'll admit, so was his curiosity.
There was a town in Arkansas that I went to that had, it was called the Silly Chili, and they had, it was just all hot sauces. And they had this little box that was behind the counter, and it had a lock on it and stuff and they said you could buy these hot sauces, but they wrapped it and they gave it to you outside of the building because these things were like 8-9 million Scoville units, and they actually had a bottle break in their last location, and it got into the wood floor. And every time summer hit, the humidity would bring out that, and they couldn't get rid of it in the building that they were at, so they actually ended up having to move locations. So any of their super hot sauces you can buy, but they give it to you outside of the building now. I was like, you can do some crazy stuff. And I was like, then I started wanting to start getting into hot sauce. And
the idea didn't blossom immediately. It wasn't until another friend showed up from North Carolina with some other kind of peppers, and then came some inspiration from his girlfriend.
And when I lost my job during the whole COVID situation, she said, you should really think about what Joe said and maybe try this hot sauce thing again. So then it was reading books, watching videos, and doing my research online.
Then from the Be Careful What You Wish For department, that curiosity turned into a tiny brand here in Savannah, homemade hot sauces. Because he knew what was out there commercially, and he knew he could make something different.
A lot of your commercial hot sauces are going to be built on a pH spectrum to where it's going to hold the best. So Tabasco, you're going to find a lot of vinegar-based sauces out there. You're going to find a lot of preservatives. You're going to see a lot of xanthan gum that they use for binders, because there are not a lot of, I would say, pulps or raw produce in there. It's a lot of vinegar and a little bit of pepper this, a little bit of onion that. And I've always kind of been a person that went off the beaten path.
And he did.
So my last hot sauce I made was a rhubarb and raspberry, and a lot of people down here don't even know what rhubarb is. So to bring something that unique into a hot sauce, huge fan of honey mustard, so I did a deconstructed honey mustard sauce that had agave, maple syrup, and locally sourced honey right here in Georgia, and I built this this trio of sweetness along with a Coleman mustard powder, and I wanted to make my honey mustard sauce. I have a cherry, chocolate, and espresso hot sauce. But the chocolate, it's a bittersweet baking chocolate that brings out the robustness of the chocolate, and the chocolate kind of brings out the heat and the base flavor of the peppers. So it's just kind of finding the balance there. And when you're using unique ingredients, like figs, rhubarb, blueberries, bacon, and maple syrup in hot sauces, you really have to, you can't just jump from one to the other. Your mouth doesn't know what to do. So finding that balance in between all these weird, unique ingredients is tough, but I think I figured it out.
I'll be honest, hearing about all those flavors as they pertain to hot sauces doesn't exactly make me want to run out and buy one. But then you sit in the kitchen and you watch him make this Thai basil curry hot sauce, and it all starts to make sense. I wish you could smell this stuff. It is nothing short of amazing. Jeremy's making these sauces once a week in the kitchen of a downtown Savannah restaurant who lends him the space to do so. In exchange, they're developing some sauces for their own oyster program. Meanwhile, Jeremy is licensed to sell person to person as well as at farmers markets. but he isn't set up to mass produce just yet. He's working on that and hopes mid-2022 is that sweet spot. A few local restaurants are already buying his product, and I can't imagine there won't be more once he can meet the demand.
I also have some hot sauces that just went on the new menu over at Top Deck. So they brought me on their new menu. They got some new wings that they're doing. So, I'm friends with a lot of people there, and Jimmy brought me in there. So it's doing real good there. I made a custom hot sauce right in-house here. They brought in common for their oyster bar downstairs. So it's like a marriage of a Bloody Mary and a cocktail sauce. So you got some smoked peppers in there.
He can't ship, but he can sell to you, and then you can do whatever you'd like, including ship to someone you know who loves hot sauces. In the meantime, Jeremy is focusing on building his inventory once a week in hopes of fast-tracking the business side. There is every confidence here that once he lines it all up, he's got a winner on his hands.
Consistently, I kind of want to nail it down to 6 or 7 flavors, and a lot of that has been market research, doing tastings at farmers markets, doing samples and stuff like that.
Looking for a unique gift? You can find Jeremy and his sauces on social media, Facebook or Instagram. There are no fancy websites yet or any real infrastructure really, but if you want to try it, he will make sure he can get some to you, and don't worry, he isn't going anywhere. Dad is still shipping peppers on the regular.